Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I am Alana and this is Raising Rebels. Thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to talk about something called deschooling, and I know that I have talked about unschooling before on my channel, and deschooling is a little bit different than unschooling, although I can totally see why people might get them confused, especially if you are new to homeschooling and you have all this information thrown at you and you're doing all the research and you're doing all the things. And deschooling is not something that I did our first year of homeschooling, and it played a major part of our level of success that we had with homeschooling that first year because we did not deschool. So basically, I just want to touch base on it because I think it's really important, and it's not something that I realized was so important until this year of homeschooling. And so basically, deschooling is a period of it's decompressing from the traditional school system and the expectations that not only we have as parents that have been through traditional school systems for the most part. I know there's some second generation homeschoolers, but for the most part, I feel like there's a lot of homeschooling parents that went through the traditional school system. And so not only do we have a lot of deschooling to do ourselves because that's how we were raised, our children do as well, especially if our kids have done any kind of preschool or even some public school like we have. Finley has done both preschool and a year of public school. And so that really requires a lot of deschooling on our part to kind of shift out of this mindset of what school looks like. And I made this huge mistake with our first year homeschooling, and looking back on it now, it's so almost funny and crazy that I was trying so hard to basically make public school at home, and I didn't even realize it at the time that I had such habits and opinions about education ingrained in me that I literally couldn't see that I was trying to replicate that at home with homeschooling. And so, I've done a ton of research about homeschooling in general, and I didn't necessarily do that as much in 2020. So throughout my research, I came across this term called deschooling, and I really didn't know what it meant. It kind of sounded like unschooling, which I was somewhat familiar with. And it's basically just a chunk of time that you take to decompress and let go of those expectations and those habits that we have ingrained, and rewire that, not only for ourselves, but for our kids. I know it's super important for Finley this year that we have a big period of deschooling. We are still in it. It's October and we started school in August. We are still in it. We are still deschooling, because it's such a hard place to get out of. It's how I was raised. I did all of my school in public school, and it's all I know. And so when we tried to homeschool in 2020, that's what I thought we should do. That's the only way I knew education could look like. And my daughter had also done a couple of years at preschool, so she was very used to that kind of dynamic of being in a school setting. Even though it's only preschool and it's only 2.5 hours a day, it's still traditional school. So it has taken us a while to kind of let go of that, and I still find myself comparing to other parents that are homeschooling that I see on social media, and thinking, oh my gosh, they're doing like, you know, workbooks and schedules, and that's like not where we're at, and it's not who we are either. So even if we weren't in a period of deschooling, I'm not sure that that would be our style. But the purpose of deschooling also gives you that opportunity to discover what your style is, you know, because you're not going to be able to jump into homeschooling and like automatically know how your child learns best, how you teach best, what schedule works best. Like, you can have the routine and all of that stuff, and when you introduce homeschooling, like the dynamic changes. You know, I feel like we have a great routine here at home, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is what's going to work for us when it comes to education and adding in a curriculum or anything like that. So the deschooling period really helps with finding that style for you and for your child, and kind of gives them the opportunity to kind of like relax into this mindset of homeschooling. For some kids who like don't know any different, like they might not need as much. For some kids that maybe did a couple of years in public school, like they might need some more. And that's what's great about this deschooling period, is because it gives you the opportunity to lean into relaxing from traditional school into homeschooling, and you don't have to like be so cut and dry. And I don't know, I didn't know about deschooling, and it's something that I wish I would have known more about in 2020, because I think it would have been really helpful for me to realize that there was going to be a transition. Even if your kids aren't in public school, this is still a big transition. It's just like anything for kids, you know. It's a transition when they are 5 and they go into kindergarten at public school or whatever. That's a transition for them. And so the same goes for homeschooling. Like, it changes the dynamic. Even if you do a more unschooling style of learning, it still changes the dynamic of things. And so I think it's really important to give our children that space to transition nicely into homeschooling, whatever your style or environment is going to look like. I just think it's really important. In 2020, like, I wanted to know legally, like, what's required of me, and wanted to like follow the rules because it was all brand new. And so like deschooling didn't come up because it's not necessarily, it's not required. It's not something that I feel like I hear a lot talked about, especially on social media. Like, I follow a ton of homeschooling accounts, and maybe it's because they feel so established in their homeschooling that they're not really backtracking and talking about this phase. But I don't feel like I've seen a lot of it talked about deschooling and the transition. For this period of deschooling that we're in, I just want my children to be able to focus on being kids, sprinkling in some like life learning, and allowing us space to like truly settle into this new lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. And I think that's another part of the deschooling is, for me, there was always this big separation between education and home life. Even when we did homeschooling in 2020, it was very much like, now it's time for school and we're gonna do schoolwork. And then when the schoolwork was done, like, we were back to regular life. But like, for me now, like, that feels so unnatural, because it just feels like there's learning constantly with children. There's not really like an on-off switch to decide like, now it's learning time, now it's not. It feels like learning time is all of the time, and if we want to do some extra book work, like that's different. There's just not this big divide for me anymore. And so giving ourselves time and grace to adjust to that homeschooling is like a full-time gig. It's not something that I have a schedule for from 9 to 1 where it's school time. Like that mindset really comes from the traditional school setting for me. Like I know for a lot of parents the schedule's it works for them, it works for their kids, it's what they need. I'm not saying like don't have a schedule. What I'm saying is for me personally, the idea that learning has a set period of time throughout the day really comes from the traditional school setting where like you go to school from 8 to 3 and that's when you learn, and when you're outside of that window of time you can do other things that you want. And so throughout this like deschooling period I have realized there's really no on-off button for that. Monday through Friday, like it just doesn't vibe for us. I don't really know where I was going with that. Honestly, I don't really know where I was going with any of this video. I just had this idea in my head to talk about deschooling because I'm on TikTok, and so I follow all of these homeschooling accounts, and I came across this one, and she was just like struggling so much to get her kids to like sit down and listen, and it just reminded me so much of myself in 2020 and all of the power struggles that we had because we were still in a traditional school mindset and we hadn't given ourselves literally any time to transition. Like we had our first day of school and we were like sitting down with the books, and we like tried to make that work until she went back to public school. And had I realized the importance of deschooling and giving ourselves that transition period, we probably would have had so much success. So when I see other moms struggling, like that's one of my first thoughts now. Like, have you guys given yourselves time to adjust, to get used to this new lifestyle? It's a lifestyle. It's not like starting a new job where you just clock in and out and you only have to adjust while you're there. Like, it's a lifestyle. I don't know how else to like put it. It's a major life adjustment deciding to homeschool your children, and everybody deserves a period of grace to adjust to that. And however long that is up to you and your family. Whatever you feel like works or doesn't work, it's up to you guys, So what is it, October? We're going on like 3 or 4 months now of deschooling, and I'm okay with that. For us, that's really what's worked. It's given my children a chance to explore interests, to let them figure out what kind of flow with school works nice for them. Like for Finley, she's like up and rolling in the morning, wanting to do stuff. For Trip, he's not like that. He wants to hang around and chill. So if I like automatically went with what works for Finley, I might not have been able to see what works for Trip, and vice versa. Like, it's just a learning period. It's a learning period for the whole family trying to figure out this new normal. And so I just wanted to put it out there that if you are struggling, if you're new to homeschooling, give yourself a deschooling period. And if you feel like you want to set a time frame on it, like we're going to do it for a month, go ahead. Like, do whatever works for you guys. If you want to like really sit down and do it for a whole year, go ahead. Like, there's nothing wrong with giving yourself grace to adjust, especially if you have kids that are coming from a traditional school setting. They may struggle more. Like, that's reality. And I think that's why we struggled so much in 2020. Finley was coming from preschool. She had it in her head what school looked like. And so that was a really hard mindset to come out of. And that's why we spent a whole year discussing it with her, a whole year doing research and bringing up new ideas to her. Because I knew that the seed needed to be planted for her, because it was such a hard adjustment in 2020. I wanted to lessen the load for her and give her so much time to think about it and to adjust. And it helped. It was extremely beneficial for her. And so when we finally did pull her from the school and go back to homeschooling, it wasn't as much footwork I needed to do to prep her, because I had spent so much time doing that. A whole year, literally, we spent a whole year talking about it, praying about it, researching about it. And I don't think a lot of people take that into consideration when they homeschool. They think like they can just say, hey, we're homeschooling, and like keep your kids home, and they're just going to be so happy to be home. And that's like not always the reality. Sometimes it's a really big adjustment for them and for everyone. So I don't know. If you are new to homeschooling and you are struggling, please give yourself some time to adjust. It's okay if you don't touch the curriculum. Like, your kid is not going to fall behind and struggle and never catch up, or whatever it is that your fear is. Just like let it go for a little. Like, just practice living in I don't want to say like living in faith that it'll all work out, but just like trusting the journey, that deschooling is a part of the journey, and that you will be so much better off if you just give yourself that space to deschool instead of trying to like go right from the jump. I don't know. That's the advice that I needed in 2020. And honestly, even if you're not a new homeschooling parent and you're just in a period of struggle, like maybe you need some time to deschool. Maybe you've switched curriculums or learning styles, or you've had a big life event like a new sibling or something, and you just need a period to decompress. Like, there's nothing wrong with just taking that time and doing that. Your kids are going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine. Like, I feel like society has taught us that we should be in a constant state of like hustling and a constant state of like on the go all of the time. And like, our kids are taught that from a small age. You know, even as a kindergartner, that you get up at this time and you get ready and you eat breakfast and you're rushing out the door to get to the bus on time, and then you're rushing from thing to thing. And, that's why kids come home and they like melt down and they completely crash, and they're hungry and they're crying and they're cranky and they don't want to tell you about their day. Like, they've been going since the moment they opened their eyes. So it's just something that's ingrained in us as a society. And so, like, taking a step back and deschooling and living like this slow life with your kids and their education can be really unsettling. It can really feel like you're doing something way wrong, because Joe down the street can recite his ABCs backwards and your kid can't. And it's okay. Like, it's okay if it takes longer because you take some time to adjust and decompress. It's okay. Eventually, they're all going to know their ABCs. And I think just getting out of that mindset of like, go, go, go is also very similar to getting out of the mindset that school takes place at a desk for 8 hours a day. Yeah, I don't know. I hope somebody finds this video helpful. I had nothing planned. Normally, I have like my notebook with my notes of like topics that I want to hit, and I just didn't have that today. I just felt like I'm gonna get in front of the camera. I am gonna like chatter off a little bit, and then I'm gonna like go watch some Netflix and chill because the baby is napping, the kiddos are with their grandma, and everybody is getting over COVID. So I have not had any time to get myself put together, first of all, or even sit down and think about recording a video. And so it feels really nice to just get in front of the camera and to just talk in a very quiet house. And I don't know. I'm really grateful you guys are here. I hope that somebody got something out of my video today. I know that sometimes I need the reminder that deschooling is a part of the process, and it's totally okay for wherever you're at to just take it, just decompress, let go of those expectations, and yeah. I don't know. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.